So, how do we view ourselves? Strange question, you may think, and one that's troubled philosophers right down the ages. I'm going to argue it's a really important question. And that's because problems in how we see ourselves have reverberated down Western culture and lie behind both the very good thing that we value human life in all its forms, in all its diversity, and yet the much more troubling reality that we tend to see ourselves as cut off from nature and the earth. So how do we see ourselves? Perhaps it's natural for beings like ourselves with the sort of consciousness that we have to think initially that it all revolves around us. Maybe. There's certainly evidence for that. I mean, in the foundation religion of Western society, Christianity, taught that human beings were made in the image of God, which is all very good until you realise that probably also means that it's very easy for us to think of nature and the earth as below us, as different from us, as separate. And it's true, surely, even in our secular society today, that we tend to think of the world as being about us, about human beings. Actually, we are it. We are really all that matters. I wonder, do you think that in your heart of hearts? I think many of us might. So, science has brought challenge to this. Copernicus, back in 1543, realised the Earth went round the sun. And nobody seemed to take that very seriously to start with. But gradually the authorities, the church authorities particularly, worried about it more and more. And they studied their Plato and their Aristotle, and they cited scenes from the Bible to prove, no, the earth must be the centre of the universe. And Galileo and the later followers, disciples of Copernicus, suffered greatly for their teaching that the science was teaching that the earth went round the sun. And what was underneath that struggle? I think it was that people saw themselves as the centre of the universe. Human beings must be at the centre of the universe, therefore the earth must be at the centre of the universe, and so the earth going round the sun, that won't do. But science challenged that. The second challenge from science, of course, came from Charles Darwin. His studies are plants, birds, Galapagos Islands, things we know so well. Well, when he was first talking about the evolution of plants or birds, it didn't perhaps trouble us too much. But then we began to realise that what he was really saying was that human beings evolved. And the notion that human beings came from apes. And that was offensive. Because we thought of ourselves as specially made, as different, as distinctive. No, said science, you are joined into a whole process of life that began ages ago, and now we know, and science has confirmed in thousands of ways, that sure enough, Darwin was right, and that we are caught up in a process of change and development that began perhaps 3,500 million years ago when the first bacteria were formed. And we're part of that web of life. So, we thought we were distinctly made, that we were a cut above. And Darwin said, well, you are intimately joined in it all. Another humbling of the human spirit. It was Freud who first linked Copernicus and Darwin to the idea that we were being humbled in what he called our narcissistic view of ourselves. But Freud didn't know about the third challenge, which is the challenge of today. And I would introduce it with this question. How do you feel about your relationship with the earth? Not words we usually use, I think, relationship with the earth. The earth is just there, isn't it? Just there for us to use? I think not. Scientists over the last 50 years have taught us great things about the earth. We've learnt about the tectonic plates that move the continents and have done ever since the earth formed. We know about the formation of the atmosphere as the bacteria, for example, released oxygen into the atmosphere of the earth, and now their descendants, the plants, maintain our atmosphere for us to breathe. And of course we've learnt of the great extinctions when huge proportions of life were wiped out on this planet. And then we've learned of the super short history that human beings have been around. And what are we to make of it all? I believe it asks us to recognize the earth as a great, dynamic and interacting system on which all life depends. Living things caught up in massive flows of energy, making one great power, the earth, to which we are all subject, on which all life depends. That is the truth of it. And as science tells us about that we are polluting the earth, destroying the ecosystems, we need to recognize that all life depends on these things. So, to summarize, we saw ourselves as the center of the universe, the earth as the center of the universe, and Copernicus taught us the earth goes around the sun. We thought of ourselves as specially made, distinctive, different from all the other creatures, and Darwin taught us, no, you are part of it all. Part of that great change and development over thousands and millions of years. And we said to ourselves, we can do what we want. But science has taught us in these last few years that we are subject to a great power, and that is the power of the earth. Three challenges. The latest one, our relationship with the earth, is perhaps the most important we've ever faced. To ignore this reality is the ultimate arrogance. You'll notice in these videos I tend to speak of the environmental crisis as one thing. Not climate change or biodiversity loss or deforestation or soil erosion or whatever. These are all symptoms, I believe, of a disease, and that's a disease of the human spirit in the way that we view the earth and all the rest of life. It is, the call today is to a humbling and to a recognition of a great power, which is the earth. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. Subscribe if you'd like to. More detail in the ebook Imagination is the Key to Unlock the Environmental Crisis. See you soon.